How y'all doing tonight, YouTube? It's your boy YB. Judging by the title, I'm sure y'all know what today's video is going to be about. I'm going to take y'all down memory lane because it has been exactly 1 year since I released my first beat tape, my first project, my first body of work. The first time you can actually search YungBart on streaming services and Google too, and you just hear amazing music. So that's gonna be what today's video is about, and I'm breaking it down for little sections for y'all because I went through a lot making this project, but it's called Lit Life for a reason. So I'm gonna let y'all in a little bit on what my lit life truly is. So y'all already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with all your peers, and of course, ring that bell.
Beat.
Okay, y'all, so first let me just touch bases on why the project is called Lit Life. Okay, y'all, so jumping back in, we're gonna touch bases on the concept of the project, so as far as, you know, the name and stuff. So first of all, the reason why it's called Lit Life is because, I didn't realize for a long time, but like my life is truly amazing. I'm a YouTuber, I'm a chef, I'm a music producer, and I'm an actor. And in the year 2022, I had took a break from pretty much everything. I had walked away from being a chef because I was done with the industry. I wasn't really releasing music like that. Emphasis on releasing because at the time, I wasn't putting my music on streaming platforms. I was just using BeatStars, SoundCloud, and every once in a while I post on YouTube. But something just told me that maybe it's time I finally put my music out there for everyone to see. So the year is 2022, and me and my friends had went to this event, and you know, I went there to dress to impress. I wore some gold pants, a button down, and my shades. And long story short, these people put me in a magazine, and one of the questions they had asked me in the magazine was, when was my next project coming? And I basically told them that when I was 15, I had a beat tape that I worked on. I never released it, and that before the year was out, I would release that project. And obviously that didn't happen in the year 2022 because I just had so much going on. So I always told myself in the year 2023, you must put out that beat tape. Don't make it look like you're lying in the magazine. So that gives me time to figure out a name, a title, you know, the body of work itself, and on top of that, the cover art. So let me just break down to you the cover and the concept. So Lit Life is a play on all the amazing things I do in my life, but also, you know, it's inspired by one of my favorite mixtapes from back in the day, Kid Ink, Wheels Up. Y'all should stream that, by the way. The mixtape is amazing. It came out when I was like a sophomore in high school, and I just remember being so obsessed with the beats he made on that project. And most of all, Kid Ink is an OG at this. Shout out to you, Kid Ink. I know you probably won't see this video, but you really paved the way for my sound and a lot of these other producers and musicians. So I'm gonna give you your flowers because you helped me create a body of work. So that's how the cover art came about. That's how the name came about and the whole concept as a whole. So in his mixtape cover, you see him have his face kind of up close with like a cartoon jet coming out, and it says Wheels Up. So I figure with Lit Life, you know, I'll do something to kind of play on that on top of my own life. So originally, I was going to release Lit Life in February 13th, 2023. That's 2/13/23. But then I ended up catching COVID, so I had to push the project back. Then I was going to push it back to 3/3/23. And then I realized I can't do that because that's the day before my birthday, and that might take the attention away from my birthday. But then also I realized maybe it's not time for me to release it because I'm about to move back to Atlanta, and on top of that, you know, just the timing wasn't right, and I once again caught COVID again. So I figured that was God's way of telling me, don't release your body of work yet. You know, get, you know, your body together. So yes, that is how the concept of Lit Life came together. But also for all of you that don't know, I'm a big stoner, so some of you know that, some of you don't know it, but yes, Lit Life, it pairs perfectly with the title on top of what I do. So, you know, I can't call my project High Life because I'm pretty sure that's inappropriate. And also, I think Lit Life just sounds a little bit cooler. So that is how I came up with the title / concept of Lit Life. Now we're gonna jump into the collaboration. So first of all, you know, you should always collaborate with others, but you know, work with people that match your sound or people that are gonna put you to a challenge. So I remember when I was working on Lit Life, because first of all, I've been working on Lit Life for years, y'all. Some of the beats that you hear on the project, most notably Destination, that was something I created in 2020, but I just went back in and edited some and added some stuff. Then, you know, Loopy, that came out in 2023. Shout out to Boy, because we got Loopy and Session on there, and I'm gonna get to him a little later because he's a creative genius. But you should always work with somebody that's gonna match your sound. So I remember I had just tweeted, I think it was around February or January, I don't remember, but I was just like, any producers wanna work with me, send loops, and then I attached my email address. And you know, I didn't expect that tweet to really blow up. So cause I don't really have my notifications on Twitter, so I went back later on to check that day, and so many people had blown me up, and the first person to reach out to me was Boy. And he had told me, like, you know, I've been making beats for like 2 years now, and I would love to work with you and stuff. And I was like, okay, man, well, you know, I'm gonna send you something and send me what you can do. So I had sent him like this little loop I was making, and do y'all know he sent me back that same beat the same day? And I remember I played it for my coworkers at my job, and they was like, Quan, that's a good beat, did you make that? And I was like, yeah, I collaborated with this dude on it, but like, I mean, you could pretty much say he did most of the work. And they was like, that's a good beat, you know, you should definitely do something with it. And it was a UK drill beat. So that was the very first track I had added to Lit Life. And I remember, you know, when I reached out to Boy, I told him, I was like, bro, I want to put this on my project, but I also want us to do another collab because I appreciate your sense of urgency, the fact that you wanted to work with me so quickly, and how, you know, basically I appreciated his work ethic. He was like, that's cool, bro, you know, you could put it on the album, and you know, I look forward to our next collab. So here's what I did with our next collab session. I had finished the collab probably 2 months later, and I told him about it, and he respectfully told me, like, bro, I don't want to hear it before the album drops. I'd rather wait until the project drops. So I thank him so much for trusting me with that. So shout out to you, Boy. So now, you know, let's get into the other collaborations. So there was this one producer named Nikki Beats. Boy, girl, I'm not really sure, forgive me, but I'm pretty sure. It doesn't matter, but you know, they had sent me this beat and I really loved it, but the beat was already finished, and I was like, wow, like this beat is amazing. How can I, you know, edit it my own way? So I asked them, I was like, hey, you know, like I really like this beat you sent me, but could you send me the actual file because I want to go in and add some stuff? And they did send me the beat, and I told them, I was like, you know, this is perfect for my album, you know, I really love it. And this track ended up being called Juice. And they also mentioned to me that there was another producer that had made the beat, and I asked them, I was like, well, can I have their contact information so we can get this clear? Because I really think this is perfect for my project. And they basically said, yes, that's no problem, just make sure you give us the splits. And if you don't know what splits are in music, basically, you know, you give credit to the person that made something and you guys split it down the middle. That's why it's called a split. So, you know, we're getting paid 3 different ways or however many ways. So I appreciate them so much for that. So when I got the file, I went in and kind of changed some stuff around and kind of stripped the beat down, added my beat tag, and of course I gave them credit. And the background vocals on it was just so perfect, and I knew I had to make this kind of at the beginning of the album, so it ended up becoming the 3rd track. Now, let's get to the next collaboration. J Miles, shouts out to you, bro. We had did Nintendo. So I worked on Nintendo when I was in Colorado, and the beat was unfinished. So me and him, we've always been cool. We've been following each other on Instagram for the longest. Come to find out, he was my Uber driver at a point, because I had thought that I met dude at the BeatStars meetup a few years prior to it, and basically he had told me, like, you know, nah, bro, you know, you were my Lyft driver one day, and my Lyft rider one day, and you know, you had told me you made beats and you was a chef, so that's how we got cool. So I don't even remember how I had his contact. I was just like, yo, bro, I got something I want to send you. You know, can you add something to it? So I sent him Nintendo, and he added his little touch to it. And at the time, I was like, bro, this beat is perfect for my sound, because if you've been listening to Young Bart for a while, my sound has always been like video game beats and like, you know, those wacky sounds, but like I interpret it in my own way. So I thought this was perfect for Lit Life. You know, it matched the tone perfectly and it matched the vibe. So I knew I had to make that the second track. But I ain't gonna lie, a lot of people weren't a fan of that beat. My roommates thought it was offbeat. The person I'm dating at the time told me it was irritating, and on top of that, like, just a lot of people kind of rejected the beat because they felt like I got kind of lazy and stuff. But I had to explain to them, like, Nintendo is like, this beat sets the tone for Lit Life because it's video game trap and it's wacky, and you know, it's a fun beat. You know, you shouldn't take it so serious. So with that being said, Nintendo turned out to be the most streamed beat on the project. I don't know if it was just the name or what, but like when Spotify gave me my year-long stats, Nintendo was the most streamed beat. I don't even remember how many times it was streamed, but like it was the #1 out of all of them. Now, I say all this to say Nintendo actually was my favorite beat at the time, because I remember when I was putting this project together, I said Nintendo's gonna be like the single, it's gonna be the one that everybody really likes. And boy, was I wrong. Like, Nintendo is not the beat everybody like, but you know, I still keep it. And shouts out to J Miles, because he really brought me out my comfort zone and he believed in me. Because even his beats itself don't really sound like that. So, you know, I appreciate him for matching me and my tone, and just by how quick he sent that beat back, because I believe he sent it back in 2 days. So shouts out to you, bro. You know, I appreciate that. So now let's move on to the next collab. I did Boy Boy, I did Juice, I did Nintendo. Okay, so the last collab was with my bro DJ Khaled. So basically, this track is called Energy, and as I'm wrapping up the album, I remember the album has 16 tracks, and when it was time for me to turn in the album, I realized I only had 15 tracks, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm forgetting something. And I had actually sent Energy to another producer, and this producer actually ghosted me, no pun intended, and he basically said he was gonna do the track and didn't. You know, I'm not gonna name drop who it is, but you know who you are. And at this point, I'm thinking like, no, I have to make this beat somehow. So shouts out to my bro DJ Khaled. You know, fresh out of North Carolina. We actually met in 2019 because we're Twitter mutuals, because he used to live in Atlanta and he makes beats just like me. He had sent me this beat, I think in June, and he was like, yo, bro, you should put this beat on your album. And I was just like, I don't know about this, bro. You know, like, this is your beat, and you know, it doesn't really match my sound. So I like to remind y'all, I'm down to maybe 4 days when it's time to turn the project. So I swallowed my pride and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, my friend just sent me a beat pretty much free. He donated me a beat and I didn't even invite him on the project. Like, what is wrong with me? So what I did was I revisited the beat he sent me, and I realized, like, as a producer, it's my job to turn this beat into mine. So I took that beat and I added some stuff to it, and you know, I ain't gonna lie, it wasn't my favorite beat that on the project, but you know, I thought, you know, my friend did a great job and he believed in me enough to put it on the album, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna do the best I can. So at this point, we're down to 3 days until it's time for me to turn in the album. And I didn't realize with streaming platforms that 3 days is the limit. You know, if you don't release it within 3 days of the project being released, that it's going to not be released at the day that you want. So shouts out to DistroKid, because that's the music distribution platform I use. And basically, I uploaded the album, I believe it was June 30th, 2023. And Energy was the last beat that I made. So let me touch on Energy. Wow. Energy turned out to be my most streamed beat of all time. Now, I know I said Nintendo was the most streamed on the project, but no, Energy turned out to be the most streamed beat of all time because it became a fan favorite. I remember my cousin who does artwork, when he listened to Lit Life, he used that beat to promote his artwork. I remember a good friend of mine, when he listened to it, he was like, bro, Energy is the one. That's the one that I think people are gonna love the most. And I remember just people always listening to that beat the most, even on Apple Music, Deezer, and all the stream platforms, Amazon Music. Like, that was the one that was always at the top of the list. But also, so was Session with Boy Boy. So I thank my friends so much for believing in me, but also I feel bad because why didn't I invite him on the project sooner? Because he believed in me the most, because when I was working on this project, I wasn't loud about it. You know, the only people that knew about it were the collaborators as well as a few of my close friends. So the fact that my friend sent me that beat that he didn't feel, you know, was necessary for him, and he wanted to be on Lit Life, I appreciate him for that. And shouts out to you, DJ Khaled, because that wasn't the only collab we did. We also got 10th Planet, we got an extendo version of Energy, we got Just Let Me Know When You're Calling, and then on Hibernation, my second beat tape, we have Famous, and we actually have another collaboration that's in the works, so I don't know if it's going on his album or mine, but here at Dream Big Records, you never know what's gonna happen. But definitely shouts out to my bro for creating Energy, because Energy, as I said, wasn't my favorite beat, but I've grown on it and I realized like this is the one that people can vibe with the most. So shouts out to all the collaborators, because I really appreciate all y'all. J Miles, Nikki, I Am Starburn, Boy Boy, DJ Khaled. I appreciate y'all because y'all believed in me the most and wanted to be on my project. And shouts out to y'all, and we matched each other's energy, and you see the results out there. So I hope to one day invite y'all to my next project and we can make something, if not as good, if not better. Okay, y'all. So now let's touch bases on what I mentioned about why didn't I do this sooner, about, you know, putting my music out there. So for a long time, I always feared that someone was gonna jack my beats, and, you know, because back in the day, I ain't gonna lie, you know, I used to be the guy that load people's iPods, burn CDs for them, and, you know, I didn't realize at the time, you know, when you do stuff like that, you're stealing from the artist, you know, they're missing out on money. So respectfully, I don't do that stuff anymore, but I always feared as a producer, someone's gonna jack one of my beats and use it to their own advantage. So that's when I realized, you know, when you drop this project, you have to put your beat tags out there and also just get your music registered. So I had to realize too, as a music producer, every producer has a beat tape. I didn't have one at the time, but I've been making beats since 2010, so I need to finally go ahead and make one. So being that I was put in that magazine and I mentioned that, you know, I was releasing a body of work, I didn't want to seem like I was lying, so I realized you have to release this beat tape now that I'm getting older, and on top of that, like, I had so much energy at the time, no pun intended. So basically, I had moved back to Atlanta in April of 2023, and my job had just ended, and, you know, I was just chilling around the house, and I had all the time in the world, so I figured this is the time I go ahead and finish this body of work. So I say around that time I had maybe 6 beats completed, because I wanted a 16-track project. So now I'm searching YouTube videos, getting, you know, inspiration of what to do, and that's how I discovered DistroKid. DistroKid is basically the modern day way of putting your music out there on streaming platforms. You get it from everywhere, from Spotify to Deezer to Apple Music to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, your music goes everywhere, even to some of the streaming platforms I never even heard of. So it leads me to the biggest question of why didn't I do this sooner? And that's because I was afraid of getting my beats checked. But now that I realize my stuff is registered, if you ever try to use my beat or use it without my consent, I'm gonna get an email and copyright strike. And also, being that this channel is monetized, YouTube's also gonna let me know. But respectfully, I'm not gonna delete your video if you use my beats. We're just gonna have to split the profits. So that's a little tip for any of y'all out there. If you ever wanna release music, DistroKid I strongly recommend, because they have creative ways of doing it. You know, they have these promo cards you can use, promo videos, and most of all, like, they get your stuff ready, because I was so nervous on July 3rd. I was gonna wake up, and being that, you know, I had announced that the project was dropping, that my music was gonna be nowhere to be found, because I didn't have a Spotify playlist at the time, profile. But boy, was I wrong. They took care of everything. They made me an Apple profile, Spotify, Deezer. I mean, any streaming platform you could think of, Lit Life was on there. So now, let's get into how social media made an impact on this. So pretty much, I would say my go-to social network is Instagram. When I make an announcement, I post it on Instagram, then Facebook. So people on Facebook don't really know me for making music because obviously on Facebook it's my first and last name. But on Instagram, my name is YungBart__. So I pretty much did like a surprise drop. So I announced the project on July 1st. I mean, let me go find the announcement. Give me one. Okay, so right here. Lit Life Beats Tape available Monday 7/3/23 on all streaming platforms. Y'all don't understand how nervous I was to make this announcement, because one, this cover art is goofy as hell, which I love, and then I announced the track list as well, and I tagged all the collaborators in it. So basically, I had made an announcement that I'm dropping a project 2 days prior, and I'm thinking nobody's gonna care about this. Everyone's gonna laugh at the cover art. Dude, I get back on Instagram and so many people left comments, so many people shared this project, so many people was just like, you're releasing a beat tape, because in the year 2023, like beat tapes aren't really popping as they were 15 years ago, which is around the time I started making beats. And I was thinking like, no one's gonna really want to hear this out. What was I wrong? I got everybody from people in my hometown sharing this to their story, to people I never spoke to in real life, to my old classmates, my co-workers that I just recently worked with, my homeboys that used to make beats. I mean, I had support from all sorts of the globe. Everybody wanted to see what I was talking about, and the impact was strong. I mean, everyone was like, I'm proud of you. Like, I love this, and I love, you stepped out your comfort zone. And even someone told me, it shows that you have a playful side, because, this cover art is very goofy, y'all, but let me touch back on the cover art for you real quick. So this cover art actually comes from when I was in Colorado. We had like this fun event day, which was around time my birthday, and this guy had drew this sketch for me. So I told him, I was like, this is perfect, but it doesn't really look like me. Like, wow. It made me look like, I don't know, I had a big head on a snowboard, but like, I figured, I was like, this could potentially be my album cover. And honestly, the way he recreated that, the graphic designer, like, I give him his 10s, because that isn't the only cover he made. He also made this one, as well as a bunch of others, but like, a good friend of mine told me that this is the cover I should roll with. So I thank my graphic designer so much for that, because I thought the cover art was perfect. And I did eventually use the other cover art for a little EP that I made, but we're gonna get to that later. So let's talk about the impact that Lit Life has made. Number one, a lot of producers wanted to work with me after I dropped this project because they like my sound, and some of them discovered me by, mutuals sharing the project. But also, a lot of rappers wanted to work with me, but I would always tell them, if you guys wanted to use a beat from Lit Life, that's totally cool with me. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna send you another one of my beats for free, because this is a game and I still have bills to pay. And on top of that, I don't believe you should ever give out free beats. But the reason why I made Lit Life is simply because I wanted the world to hear my sounds. I mean, you guys can have some free beats from me, and if you want to use them, you can, but don't think I'm gonna give you a beat for free. So the day before Lit Life dropped, I had to work my job, and I remember waking up and BeatStars sent me a notification. They were like, congrats, Young Bart, you made a sale. And I remember thinking like, bro, did someone just buy one of my beats? And turns out that is what happened. Someone had bought one of my beats on the day before my album dropped, and I just remember being so hyped. I was like, bro, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe this. So I used the money to, get myself something nice, but I was just happy because I was like, someone probably had just discovered me for the first time and they bought one of my beats. And turns out the beat that they bought was the same exact beat that someone had bought from me earlier that year. So I was just thinking like, what is it about this beat that everyone loves? But I didn't care, someone bought a beat from me from $75 and I was happy about that. So thank you, whoever it was that bought that beat, because you were part of the Lit Life journey, because you just put $77 in my pocket, and on top of that, you helped me have a good album release. So jumping back into the impact, So Lit Life, I had released it on 7/3/23, which was one day shy of Independence Day, 4th of July, yada yada yada. And basically, my friend had threw me a listening party. I had to work the day of my album release, and my boss actually, shouts out to him. He wanted to hear my project, and I sent him the link. And then I also let my coworkers hear it, and they loved it. But they wanted me to freestyle to one of the beats, and I remember I was like, "Yeah, I don't know how to rap. Like, I'm just a producer." They're like, "Come on, Quan, all producers know how to rap." And I was like, "I guess so." Magazine, which is track 4 of the album, comes out, and I heard that beat, and I just started freestyling, and pretty much I had a rhyme scheme. I rhymed the word zine with king, and I just started spitting off the dome. And one of my coworkers told me, she was like, your beat tape is cool, but maybe you should release an actual album of you rapping on the beats. And I was just like, nah, it's not really my style, I'm not gonna do that. And she was just like, I think you should. I think you have potential. You rap better than most of these niggas from Atlanta. And I was just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So, that was cool of them to notice, but really, like, Lit Life is a fun album. I mean, you could ride around listening to Lit Life. You can put it on when you're cleaning around the house. I mean, if you want to listen to it through your AirPods, it's cool. But like, I didn't really make Lit Life for anybody to freestyle to. Like, the beats on there, they're cool, don't get me wrong, but like, I didn't make it for that purpose, because you got every genre in there, from trap to hip hop to drill to maybe R&B, techno. I mean, there's a lot of sounds on there, but they all orchestrate my sound pretty well. And touching back on Kid Ink, his Wheels Up mixtape, that's where a lot of the inspiration came from. But also, another album that is inspired by Lit Life is Kanye's album, Ye. And the reason why I'm inspired by that album so much is because in the year 2018, I remember when that album came out and I was in Wyoming, I remember thinking like, bro, this album is good, but why does it feel so unfinished? So Kanye has made it known that it's okay to put an unfinished track on an album. And when it comes to Lit Life, there's a beat on there that is very dedicated to Kanye, and it's called Winter. And Winter I actually made when I was on my Vegas trip. Shouts out to my friends Lewis and the rest. I forgot y'all names, but I love y'all so much. Thank you for inviting me on that trip. I remember I made that beat when we was on vacation, and bro was like, bro, we're on vacation, why are you working? I told him like, dude, I'm a music producer, like I have to get to work regardless, because there was this sound that I was inspired by from Distortion, and I wanted to make that beat. So I finished up Winter when I was finishing up the album, and forgive me because there is a long 30-minute silence mark. I forgot to chop that out. But Winter is also a beat that everyone loves, but it's not my favorite, but I knew I had to make a Kanye type beat, being that Ye was my favorite album around the time. Now, let's get back to the impact. So I say about 4 months into the project being released, I had decided I had reached back out to my bro DJ Khaled, and I was like, bro, remember when you sent me Energy? You had also sent me another beat, and I really liked this other beat. I think we should put it on streaming. He was like, it's cool, bro. So I went in and I edited the beat, and then something told me like, I think I should release an extended version of Energy, because basically everyone had loved Energy, and that beat, it wasn't necessarily unfinished, but I felt like I could add another bridge to it. So I ended up releasing a 2-track EP with 10th Planet, and then I put Energy Extendo on there. And basically 10th Planet is inspired by Getting Justified again, but like, I called it Energy Extendo because if you ever wrote an extendo, basically it's long lasting, and that's what I wanted to do for Energy. That's why I called Energy Extendo. So check out that EP if you guys haven't already. It's 10th Planet, me and DJ Khaled. So that was one of the impacts that came from Lit Life. Then also I had released a Lit Life EP called Lit Life Originals, because basically one day I had just got bored and visited my SoundCloud, and I discovered I had a beat on my SoundCloud called Lit Life, and this beat also happened to be the beat that I use for my YouTube intro. And I was like, why the heck did I name this beat Lit Life? Like, that's such a coincidence. So, you know, I listened to the beat and I was like, this beat is good. I think I should put this on streaming. So I ended up taking a few of my beats from SoundCloud that maybe my day one listeners had heard, but also my new fans hadn't heard. And I turned it into a 5-track EP, and YouTube intro was #1. And then the rest were just a bunch of throwaways that were originally supposed to be on Lit Life. So that's how I ended up making the Lit Life Originals EP. Now, let's get to how I built connections after Lit Life. Okay, so jumping back in, y'all. So one day something just told me to check the stats of DistroKid to see how much money I made from streaming, and you know, I just decided that maybe, you know, I should either cash out or whatever. But I like to remind y'all, Twitter is my go-to social when it comes to just voicing how I feel. So something just told me one day to tweet out, I got my first check from streaming, what do I do with it? And I actually posted this on Instagram, and this tweet went viral, y'all. Like, I did not expect my tweet to go viral. Everybody was cracking jokes and stuff, saying stuff like I should spend it on weed and, you know, put it back into music. And somebody told me I should get some condoms. Pause. Not really sure why you would say that, but like a lot of the replies were hilarious. But long story short, I ended up meeting this guy who happened to be an author, and his name is JC King. Shouts out to you, bro, because you turned out to be one of my biggest subscribers / fans, and I appreciate you for it. And basically, I had explained to him, I was like, you know, bro, I live in Atlanta, and I just released my first beat tape this summer, and you know, I know that you're an author. Do you do music reviews / reviews on albums? And he was like, I don't, but you know, I would love to check you out. And I let him hear the project, and jumping back on my collaborations, he wasn't too much of a fan of one of the beats that I made, which was Nintendo, and he told me basically like, you know, I feel like you got kind of lazy on this track. Like, what was your key audience? And I respect him so much for his criticism. I basically told him like, bro, you know, I'm a diverse music producer, and I've lived in all different parts of the world. So there was a phase where I was making techno music. There was a phase where I was making hip hop beats. I was making chill beats, trap. And I was like, but overall my sound is video game trap. So Nintendo kind of sets the tone for the whole album. And he was like, okay, I get it. It's just, I'm not a fan of that beat. And I understood his criticism. I understood his constructive criticism. I didn't feel no type of way. You know, that was just somebody speaking in an honest perspective. But he listened to Lit Life as a whole, and he told me like, this is a great project and I want to have an interview with you. So long story short, we had an interview, and he basically just wanted to ask me, you know, like, tell me a little bit more about why you call yourself Young Bart and what Young Bart means to you. And I basically told him that Young Bart comes from my favorite cartoon character, Bart Simpson, and I created this username when I was a kid, and I've just stuck with it for years. It's kind of like my digital username, but it's also a name that people call me in real life. You could call it to me on the street, you can call it to me in real life. I mean, it's kind of like my alter ego. And basically, I did not expect him to write up a review on my album, and basically he wrote a review on me as a whole, and we built a strong connection after that. And he's a big fan of Lit Life, but he also was there for me when I released Hibernation, and I let him listen to Hibernation before the album dropped, and he loved Hibernation. We're gonna touch on that a little later in the video too. But overall, I did not expect that tweet to go viral. I just tweeted, what do I spend my first check on streaming with? And then I built a connection, I built a fan base, and most of all, I found somebody that, you know, really supports me. So shouts out to you, bro. Definitely we're gonna work together in the future. I'm not sure how, but you know, I truly appreciate you. I'm glad the power of social media linked us in together. So, you know, I'm glad to discover you this way. So touching back on the impact Lit Life has made, I got to be in another magazine, y'all. Because in the year 2023, I was once again on my break from being a chef, and I had kind of gave up on being a sous chef, and a good friend of mine from my hometown had reached out to me and basically gave me a job and told me like, bro, I've been following you on social media for years, like, you know, I got an opportunity for you. And I took back on a sous chef job, and I was back to making videos and shorts for my YouTube, and I was using those videos to promote Lit Life because I'm thinking, you know, I just released a body of work. Why not use my own music to promote my food? So next thing you know, the month November comes, and my friend Chef Sean, Chef Torres, most notably, shouts out to him. He had put me on to someone who does magazines, and this really nice lady had reached out to me and found me on Facebook, and she basically was like, hi, I was referred to you by someone. I'm dropping a magazine this next month, and I would love to feature you in it. And I was just thinking, like, are you serious? Like, of course, you know. And pretty much she interviewed me about my chef journey and my overall success story. And do y'all know she got to put me on the cover? So now this is my second magazine. And on top of that, like, just where in the world is all this coming from? Like, 2023 was really my year because not only was my acting career blowing up, but also my chef career had returned, and now I'm about to be in another magazine. But there was a section in the magazine where they pretty much asked me about my personal life, and I just mentioned how basically I just dropped a beat tape. To be in professional terms, I call it an instrumental album, and you know, that's like one of the first things we talk about. And I gave a shout out to all the producers in there. So basically, a project that I made in my bedroom in multiple locations, because I didn't just make this in Atlanta, I also made it in Wyoming, Las Vegas, and Colorado. A project that I made and uploaded from my bedroom has now traveled to Massachusetts, out of the country, all other parts of the world, and on top of that, I didn't spit not one bar. A beat tape did all this. So I gotta give myself my 10s for that, because I really did not expect Lit Life to have this type of impact. It got me into another magazine. It made me create new friends, new connections, and on top of that, when you Google YungBart or Daquan Piner, that's all you see is my music. So I can't thank Lit Life enough for what it's done. And I will say, for the most part, Spotify has been the best app to listen to Lit Life on, but you know, there are more streaming apps out there. But if you want the full experience, I recommend Spotify to the fullest capacity, because not only has playlists been added for certain tracks, but also just the overall quality is good on Spotify. So Lit Life has made its impact, and I'm so blessed that a year later it has done what it's done. But the video's not over yet, y'all. I still have some more stuff I want to discuss. Okay, y'all. So now we're gonna jump back into the stats of Lit Life. So remember how I told y'all I made that post on Instagram on basically how I met JC King and stuff? Well, at the time that I got my first streaming check, I didn't spend it, and Lit Life had accumulated 3,183 streams of all time. And I don't know if that's just from Spotify or all the streaming platforms put together, but I made a pretty decent penny. But I like to remind you that I did have to do some splits, being that I had collaborators on the project. So I had the money just sitting there accumulating, and I had just kind of let it sit there. So also in the year 2023, I had to kind of move out of the place I was staying, so I knew I needed every dime to count. So I used that money to help me move into my new place, which I love, which I thought was so awesome. And that was when I realized that, you know, being in the music industry, we don't make as much money as you think. You know, your favorite rapper, they might get 1 million streams in a day, but I guarantee they're probably not making $1 million off that one song or album. But that's when you have to ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this for the fans? Am I doing this for money? Because truth be told, I wasn't doing this for either. I did this for me. I didn't know I had a fan base. I just thought people knew, oh, Daquan makes beats, cool, you know, he's been doing this since high school. But I didn't realize when I made this post that I had a fan base, that people really respect my craft and listen to me. So that was so cool to me that I got that many streams, because there was once upon a time my biggest beat only got like 248 streams, and that's just on BeatStars. You know, and BeatStars is made to buy beats. So I just thought that was so cool. But now let's revisit Lit Life one by one. We're gonna play some tracks.
Power on. The Bluetooth device is ready to pair. The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
All right, y'all, disregard my robotic Bluetooth speaker. It's talking. So If you go on my Spotify, obviously I've released more than one project. The top tracks are one from a EP I released this year called Survival, number 2 Session, which comes from Lit Life, number 3 Energy, number 4 Cotton Candy, and number 5 Someone Else. You know, there you go, in case you guys don't believe me. But if you go to Lit Life, I'm gonna give you guys my top 5 favorite from Lit Life, then I'm gonna give you my least favorite top 5. Number 1, Legend. The reason why I give Legend number 1 is because I mean, just listen to how this starts off. It just sounds so aggressive and cool. But also a fun little backstory for this beat. My nephew and cousin are on the background vocals of it. So pretty much the way this beat came together, my cousin had just sent me a funny video of him playing with him, and I had to loop it in.
Shout out to
I forgot one more thing.
Oh, you didn't. What you forgot?
I
What you
forgot
forget,
my
bro?
bridge.
Your bridge.
Now listen to this drop. Okay, so yeah, that's my favorite track from Lit Life. Like, if I'm ever just bored and I listen to Lit Life, I'm always gonna stream Legend first because that beat just sounds so nasty in the car. And shouts out to my cousin and my little nephew, Isaiah. I love you, man. You helped me create a masterpiece. So I gave them credit on the track because honestly, that beat by itself without the vocals would have just sounded how you heard. But just by them being on it vocally, you guys have more courage than me. You guys recorded yourself and now you're on streaming platforms. And I haven't even done that yet. All right, so jumping back in my top 5. Number 1, Legend. Number 2, Space Off. Bro, I love this beat because 1, I made this beat when I was in Colorado when I was sick in COVID, but also I went through this phase where I was listening to a lot of Juice WRLD, and I love Juice WRLD's sound because Juice WRLD, you know, he's on that melodic stuff, and that's kind of what I do too. So I knew for Lit Life I had to make a track that paid homage to Juice WRLD, R.I.P., but also with my own little spin to it. And as far as genre, I would say this beat is like trap and R&B inspired, but I just really love that melody. Alright, I know this is gonna be a long video, y'all, so I'm gonna try not to drag it too long. Number 3, what's my 3rd favorite beat from Lit Life? Alright, so this one's another collab for y'all. Session. Yeah. Shouts out to my boy because he loved this beat. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Alright, y'all, so Session is my 3rd favorite beat from Lit Life because 1, this beat is very brief, but I just think the name goes so perfect with this album because Session means a brief, you know, encounter. So, you know, if you smoke, you know, a smoke session. You know, if you're in class, there's a class session. You know, if you're having a roasting session where you're joking on somebody, you know, that's a session. But I figured Session goes together so good with this album considering that it's called Lit Life. And believe it or not, Session is actually one of the fan favorites. Everyone loves this beat, and so do I. And shouts out to Boy because he actually sent me those sounds. I mean, the drums and stuff I made myself, but those sounds that you hear in the beginning, those are from him. And it's two different sounds. And I remember when he first heard that beat, he was like, bro, I think this is better than Loopy. And I told him, no way, bro. Like, Loopy was hard, you know. This is much better. And he basically was like, nah, bro, I disagree with you. I think Session's better. And to be honest with you, he's right, because Session is actually one of the most popular beats on my streaming apps. Like every app I've been through, from Amazon to Spotify to Apple, Session's always in the top 5. So I think moving forward, I'm gonna have to make more beats like Session, but I did not expect Session to be a hit, because I honestly thought Nintendo would be the one to take off, but what was I wrong again? All right. So number 4, what is my 4th favorite beat from Lit Life? I gotta go with this one. Magazine. Bum, 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 dum, dum, dum. Bum, bum, dum, dum, dum. All right, y'all. So the reason why this is my 4th favorite beat from Lit Life is because, number 1, I was once again ahead of myself. It's called Magazine because the first company that put me in the magazine was from New York, and New York is mostly known for drill music, and I've been making drill beats since pretty much my return to making beats in the year 2017, 2018. So as a way of giving thanks to them for recognizing me, I figured I would make a beat called Magazine. And not only did this beat become a hit, this beat became very needy in my life, and it came in handy because I got to be in another magazine, and once I got to be in a magazine, I used that beat to promote the cover as well as the video that the author had made for me. And I even let the author have that beat. I was like, hey, you know, thank you for including me. You can have this beat. And I even sent the beat to the publication that put me in the magazine. So I really love Magazine because it was something different and it became so catchy. And if you listen to the beat, it sounds like a page turning. So Magazine is always gonna be my 4th favorite beat. I mean, it would be number 1 if it wasn't for the other 3, because I didn't know that it would become so catchy later on. So I must say I was really in my bag when I made this album, because a lot of these beats, you know, they sound good even a year later. And I made Hibernation. I'm about to drop another project, but I don't know if it will have the same impact as Lit Life. But with all that being said, we're gonna go to my 5th and final favorite track off of Lit Life, and that is, wow, it's so many good ones. I don't even know where to start. There we go, right there. Atlanta. For obvious reasons, I made this beat when I was living in Atlanta, but also I love this beat because not only is it something different, it's really catchy and fast, and also this was kind of one of the beats I had kind of made when I was turning into the album. So, you know, when it first came out, I didn't love it, but, you know, just by seeing the impact it's made, like, this beat is catchy, it's fun, and, you know, it really makes you want to nod your head. And as most of you know, Atlanta has been so instrumental to my success journey and just my overall life. So I have to give props to this beat for doing its own thing. And also, the inspiration came from the side of town I lived in, because I used to live in Midtown, and Midtown is very fast-paced, and there's a lot of lights everywhere and stuff. So definitely, if you listen to this beat while you're trying to beat traffic, it makes you kind of feel like you're in the zone. So overall, those are my top 5 favorite beats from Lit Life. And of course, I got some honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1, I'm gonna go with Energy, because my bro DJ Khaled, you know, we really did our thing with that beat. For it to come out to be the number 1 most streamed beat of all time in my discography, how could I not acknowledge that? Number 2, definitely I'm gonna go with Destination because I made that beat a few years back at the height of the pandemic, but I finished it off when I was in Colorado, and a lot of my Colorado friends heard that beat and they loved it. And last but definitely not least, Juice. I love Juice. Shout out to Nikki and Starburn. I really appreciate you guys for helping me put that masterpiece together. It's just an overall fun beat, and even the music critics love that. So those are my top 5 and honorable mentions. Unfortunately, there are a few beats on Lit Life that I do not love that I'm gonna have to touch on, my least favorites, and maybe my least favorites are your favorites. Number 1, I do not love Everywhere. I don't like this beat because, it's kind of not mixed very well, and that vocal chant in the beginning, it will give you a heart attack if you haven't heard it for the first time. So Everywhere is one of my least favorites. Now let's go to my other least favorite. Spliff. This is the obvious interlude of Lit Life, but I just feel in a way I could have added a few more stuff to this beat, and also it could have been a little longer because this beat is only like 40 something seconds long. But if any rapper out there wants this beat, I got you, but it's one of my least favorites. And now we're gonna go to my number 1 least favorite beat of all time from Lit Life. Winner.
Wow.
And I know what you guys are thinking, like this beat is heat, this beat is awesome, it's my Kanye type beat, but I don't like this beat, y'all, and I'm gonna explain to you why. We're gonna let it play for a little bit. Alright, y'all, so you heard enough of it. I don't love this beat because, one, I feel like it drags on for too long, and obviously the beat is only 2 minutes long, but according to the streaming apps, it's 2 minutes and 36 seconds long. Well, there's 36 long seconds that I forgot to chop out, but I overall don't like this beat because I feel like it just feels so out of place with the whole project. Kanye is my favorite artist of all time, and I had to pay homage to him, but I just feel like this could have been a little better. But to everyone else out there that loves this beat, don't take my criticism to heart, but I just don't love this beat. And if you ask me, I feel it doesn't belong on Lit Life. I mean, although the title is perfect, I just don't feel it matches the vibe. So because of that, that is my least favorite beat on Lit Life. Everything else I can listen to with no hesitation. I don't mind it, but when winter comes on, I always just I have to be in the mood for it. And it's sad to say that as my own critic, I can be my own worst critic, but I do not love winter. And honestly, it's one of those beats that I don't submit to playlisting just because I'm afraid I might get clowned for it. So yes, that is all the impact and fan favorites and my least and favorites for Lit Life. All right, y'all, so I'm back. Now what I'm gonna do is, I pray I don't get a copyright strike, but I'm gonna break down for y'all the tracks that come from inspiration from my favorite album from Kid Ink, Wheels Up. So first of all, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Kid Ink, but he became really mainstream in like the year 2012 through 2015. But like I was listening to Kid Ink 2010, 2011, and I remember when Wheels Up came out, I was a sophomore and I was just in love with the production. And I still listen to this beat tape to this day. Like when I was first moved to Atlanta, I would listen to that when I was walking to the bus, when I was going to class. The album really stuck with me through my success journey because if you listen to the album, it's talking about ways he came up and how he made nothing into something. And there's even a line where he was like, I was a kid raised in apartments, and I was raised in apartments too, so I can relate to that very well. So, yeah. There's a track on there called Break It Down. I'm gonna play it for y'all. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike, and if I do, I will link it in the bio. But this track inspired Session. Now let's listen to Session. Alright, so the reason why this track and this track go neck and neck is because you listen to the lyrics of that song, break it down. Of course, you might think he's talking about smoking weed, which he's not. He's also talking about, you know, breaking something down, but yet he does talk about it in a way. So that was one of my favorite tracks from the album. And I knew, like, with Session, I had to kind of match the sound of that, being that, you know, that's where I drew inspiration from. So shouts out to you, Kid Ink, because I really love that song. Now, Cookout. This is the last track. Damn, that's loud. Cookout, I have a little funny backstory for you on that beat as well. But Cookout comes from Tuna Roll. So let's play Tuna Roll. Okay, let me find Tuna Roll. It's not on that app anymore. Alright, I'm not gonna play it all because I don't want a copyright strike, but Cookout comes from inspiration from Tuna Roll. I'm gonna break it down for y'all, the little drop. Alright, now let's listen to Cookout. So yes, that's where I got inspiration from those two tracks. So let me see again. I get another inspiration from this album. I don't know, but pretty much if you look at the cover art between Lit Life and Kid Ink Wheels Up, like, you will see heavy comparisons, and that's pretty much where the cover art idea came from. So shouts out to you again, Kid Ink. I'm gonna keep giving you your flowers because you helped me create a good body of work that connected all over the world. And most of all, it helped me build my discography up because now people can search Young Bart at their fingertips and listen to my music. And not just with Lit Life, I have another beat tape as well, Hibernation. Now, moving on to Hibernation, we're not gonna touch too much on Hibernation because it's still about Lit Life. Pretty much, Hibernation comes from me needing to take a break because after I had released Lit Life, I had got my awesome job / career again. And then my acting career was also starting because that's, you know, around the time some of my visuals started to come out. I was in Miss Pat Settles It on 8 episodes. I was on Wild and Out in 2 episodes. I got to be in this music video for this rapper named Ben Riley. I mean, overall, I had a lot of amazing stuff happen in 2023, and I knew I needed to take a break, but I also knew that I wasn't about to have my fans sitting around waiting on me to drop a new project. So how do I drop my next project and it pairs so well with Lit Life? So I figured I'm gonna call it Hibernation because also around the time I was moving and I moved to a new area of town and I realized I needed to change up my sound and tune. So Hibernation is pretty much my second beat tape. I released that on February 2nd, 24. Go listen to that as well. I would say Hibernation is my most experimental body of work, and that inspiration comes from 2 of my favorite albums. Russ created this album called Zoo in the year 2018, and Kanye, it's actually inspired by 2 of Kanye's albums. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and what's the other one? 808s and Heartbreak. Because when Kanye dropped those 2 albums, like, the game was kind of side-eyeing him because he was on some experimental stuff, but also he wasn't afraid to create a new sound, and that sound helped create my new body of work because 808s popped off and melodic sounds popped off, and overall Kanye just as a whole has created so many artists and producers, and I gotta give him his 10s for those, so shouts out to you. Now as far as Russ, the reason why Zoo was inspired by this album / beat tape is because I like the sounds and effects Russ was doing, because in Zoo, he basically got really vulnerable, and he also talked about kind of his upbringing and stuff that he went through in life. And there's a track on there called Kill Them All. And Russ is a melodic rapper / singer. He doesn't really make those type of songs, but I remember when I heard this song, I remember thinking like, wow, like, this is aggressive, but I like it. So shouts out to those 2 artists because y'all helped me create Hibernation. And overall, I would say Hibernation is not better than Lit Life, but it's gonna be taken a little bit more serious than Lit Life because the way the tracks flow together so smoothly. You know, when somebody listens to me for the first time and they listen to Hibernation, like they're gonna want to say, "Oh, I want to hear more of this guy's music," and then they go listen to Lit Life and they're gonna say, "Okay, this is kind of all over the place, but this is a good album too." But if I was to say what is my better body of work, I'm gonna have to go with Lit Life just because of all the amazing things that Lit Life has done. And yes, Lit Life is a no skip album, and so is Hibernation, but Hibernation, I would say, it isn't as good as Lit Life to me. I mean, but you know, this is just my opinion. I could be right, I could be wrong, but I'll say Lit Life is the better album. Okay, so here's just a little question, you know, out there for anybody that wants to know. Did anyone rap on any of my beats from Lit Life? The answer is yes. A good friend of mine has rapped on Energy. Another friend of mine has rapped on Legend. I haven't heard the tracks yet. I'm pretty sure they're gonna just pretty much put it out when I think it's time. But overall, no one has really rapped on many of the beats, but just for those two, I'm very appreciative. And you know, maybe one day someone will reach out to me and want to get on another one of the beats, but that's just a little question someone has asked. Has anyone rapped on any of the beats from Lit Life? Yes, 2 of them. Hey y'all, so I know this video is long and you know, shouts out to you if you stuck it out all the way through or if you didn't, but you know, thank you for tuning in. Unfortunately, there's always a few things that happens in life that doesn't go up to par. So we're gonna get into the drama that happened when I was making Lit Life. So number one, as I mentioned, you know, I kept having to push the release date back because I caught COVID and it was too close to my birthday. And on top of that, you know, I wasn't very sure of the project. So that's the first part of it. Now, let me get into a little bit of the background of what happened. So I have a close friends group on Instagram. And if you're in my close friends, shouts out to you. You know, I fool with you the long way. Basically, when I posted my close friends, I'm about to post something that's about to happen that I feel you guys can keep to yourselves, whether it's a beat I'm working on, whether it's a vision I'm about to be in, whether I'm on set, you know. I keep you guys in there for a reason because you guys have shown me that you guys really fool with me. So I had posted a beat I was working on and the beat turned out not to be on Lit Life, and a good friend of mine that was in my close friends in Colorado, he had responded to my story. He was just like, "I like this a lot, bro. You should let me get it." And I was like, "I got you, bro. Just give me a few more days." And my friend didn't know I was about to drop a beat tape. So he was just like, "Yeah, I should play this beat in front of a guy that hates me." And I was sending him question marks. I was like, "Bro," I was like, "Who hates you?" I was like, "You know, you're one of the coolest guys I ever met." And he was like, "No, a guy that hates you, LOL." And so, you know, I'm confused. I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, who hates me?" And then he had told me the guy's name, and I was just like, "Wait a minute, could you describe him for me?" And he was just started describing, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" So here's the thing, you guys. I never really explained to you guys on camera what happened to me in the year 2022, 2023, but like if you've been following me for a while, you may have noticed that when I returned to Colorado in 2023, I wasn't working at the same part that I worked at the first year. So I had relocated in 2022 to this part of Colorado called Beaver Creek, because originally I was working in Vail. And let me just let y'all in on something. Vail is kind of like the signature mountain. Like everyone goes there, like it's the cool one, but everyone had always told me that Beaver Creek was lame and like nobody went to Beaver Creek. Well, first of all, let me just clear it up for you. That's not true. Beaver Creek is amazing. You know, if you still go to Colorado, I recommend you give it a chance because Beaver Creek is miles better than Vail. But you know, I'm not here to make fun of Vail because I do love Vail too, but just keep all that in your mind real quick. So I had moved to Beaver Creek because I was kind of mistreated my first season in Vail. There was this guy that was working for me, and the first day I met him, he was cool, but I like to remind you guys something. If you're not black, don't say the N-word around another black person, because some black people, we get very offended by that because, you know, it doesn't matter if it's nigga or nigger, like just don't say that word around black people. And I remember when I met dude, you know, I had shook his hand and he was cool, and he was singing this YB Amir song, Rubbing Off the Paint. And there was a line specifically where he was like, "You niggas really hoes and you be acting like these bitches." And he had sung both those lines in front of me, and I had got his attention. I was like, "Hey, you be careful using that word around me. I don't want you saying the N-word around me. And he kind of got hesitant and defensive. He's like, dude, I'm from Florida. I could say the word. I'm like, but I don't want you saying it around me. And on top of that, the dude isn't black. So why are you saying nigga to begin with? So, you know, we dropped it, we left it at that, and I worked with the guy, everything was cool. So now let's fast forward a few months later. Out of nowhere, this dude just switches up on me out of nowhere and just starts verbally abusing me and starts talking bad about me in front of my boss. And, you know, I had to sit there and take that because I knew what he wanted. He wanted me to curse him out and I lose my job. So I was like, no, like, you know, I'm gonna let you have it. All you're doing is talking. So let me tell y'all why I brought this up. So my friend, you know, told me that what he was saying about me, he basically told my homeboy, yeah, I don't like your friend Corn. I want to fight him and all this and stuff. But here's the thing. I've seen this guy when I returned to Colorado in 2022 by myself multiple times with his girlfriend, and he did nothing. I saw him at the hockey game. He didn't do anything. I seen him at City Market. He didn't do anything. I seen him on the bus. He didn't do anything. So why do you wait until I move out of the state? And on top of that, why do you follow me to another part of Colorado and start shit talking me to my friends? And I had to explain to my friend, I said, the reason why he said that to you is because maybe he's seen you on one of my YouTube videos and he know that me and you are friends. Because otherwise, why is Daquan Piner being brought up to begin with? And he just kind of explained to me how, you know, he was playing my music around him one day and he just started trash talking me. So I kept that in mind and I was just like, you know what, I gotta do something about this. Like, I'm not gonna allow someone to sit up and talk crap about me for no reason. So then I remembered another one of my friends was there, and this time she happens to be a female, and shouts out to you. You know, I'm not gonna name drop you, but you know who you are. And I was just like, hey, are you still in Colorado? She was like, yeah, of course, what's going on? And I was like, I wanna ask you something if you don't mind. And she was like, sure, ask away. And I was like, is there a dude there talking crap about me, saying he hates me and stuff? And she was just like, well, he didn't say that he hates you, but he was kind of talking bad about you and making fun of you on your YouTube channel. And I stood up for you because, you know, you're my buddy, Quan. You know, we worked together in Wyoming, and, you know, I didn't like how he was talking about you because you weren't here to defend yourself. And I was like, you know, I was like, well, let me ask you something. Why was I brought up to begin with? And she was like, I don't know, to be honest with you, but just know I handled it, Quan. And I was like, thank you so much for that. You know, I appreciate it. You know, like, you're not going to be in trouble or anything. I just needed to know. And she was like, why are you asking me this to begin with? And I was like, well, you know, it had been brought to my attention that he was talking about me to another coworker. And she was like, are you serious? She was like, I literally just talked about, she was like, I literally just had a conversation with him last week about you. And I was like, so this is something that recently happened? She was like, yes. And I was like, well, you know, thank you for telling me this. I was like, because I think it's time I take it to HR, because I'm not about to sit up and let somebody slander my name when I've done nothing to this guy. So basically, you guys, this guy had been holding a grudge on me for 2 whole years just because I told him he couldn't say the N-word. And touching back on what happened today, he snapped on me. I used to work the burger station at my job, and this day my chef told me, he was like, Quan, I don't want you to cook off all the burgers today. You know, I want you just to cook off one pan. And I was like, are you sure? Like, you know, we're in the middle of the season. Excuse me, we're at the end of the season, and, you know, we're supposed to be getting busy. He's like, no, it's no big deal, Quan, I promise. So I listened to my boss and I did what he said. And on that same day, that dude was working there. He just started shit talking me and talking bad about me. And I just sat there and let him have it because, you know, obviously you couldn't say it to my face. You have to say it across the wall where, you know, there's customers. And eventually my boss sent him home, but that's all he did. And then my boss even told me at the time, like, you know, I'm not getting involved with this because you're both my friends. And I'm just like, okay, well, you've told me what side you picked right then and there. So I let him have it. So now I've collected all this information and I finally get in touch with the company I work for. And I basically tell them everything, like how the guy said the N-word and how he moved to another part of town and he's slandering my name, you know. And I think you guys should do something about this because I'm a good worker and I've done nothing to him. And do you know what they did, you guys? They did discipline him, which, you know, wasn't enough for me, but they gave me counseling. They told me, you know, we're very sorry that you're going through this, but we're just going to give you 6 free counseling sessions. And at the time, I was very upset because I didn't like the way they handled the situation, but I appreciate them for giving me that because it made me realize something. I am a public figure and a celebrity. You know, you're gonna do things in this world and people are gonna talk about you, but you have to be strong and deal with it. And I'm not upset with my friend for bringing it to my attention because I can tell he didn't want me to know, but at the same time, I knew that he wanted to tell me. And I thank my other friend for telling me as well because she handled the situation and she's looking like, okay, who told Quan about this, you know? But eventually, once I had a conversation with her, she understood and she knew why I was reaching out. And she, you know, handled that guy very well. She basically told him like, you know, why are you talking crap about him and he's not here? You must be afraid of him or something. So the situation had bothered me so bad to the point where I had talked to my current boss about it and some of my coworkers. And one of my coworkers, she's from Atlanta, but she told me some real ass shit. She was like, Quan, maybe the guy likes you. And I was like, well, you know, I don't think he swings that way. He has a girlfriend and stuff. She was like, no, that doesn't mean anything. She was like, because why are you talking about another dude who's not thinking about you in a whole nother state? He has to like you or something, you know? And I thought about that for a second. I was like, you know, you might be onto something because where I come from, we don't talk about people we don't like. I mean, we pay you no mind. The fact that you're from Florida talking about a guy from Alabama who's not even in the same state/city as you right now, you obviously are bothered, or I must be the best thing to happen in your life. So my coworkers really helped me get through this, and so did counseling, because what counseling taught me is, you know, it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it, but also how you choose to react to it. In other words, if I gave him attention, you know, to the situation, it would have made things worse. So I had to just do the right thing and tell my job about it. And even though I didn't love the way they handled it, I appreciate that they did care about my mental health and gave me 6 free counseling sessions, because I learned a lot in those 6 weeks. I learned a lot about myself, and I also learned that, you know, I'm Young Bart. You know, people are gonna talk about me, but not to me. They're gonna talk about me to my friends. So with all that on my mind, it helped me finish Lit Life. So when my friend had told me all that information, don't get me wrong, I was a little upset and I had a lot on my mind, but it made me realize you have to turn that pain in a body of work. And I've created a 16-track beat tape that now the whole world hears and everyone loves. So I thank you, my hater, for speaking on me to my friends and to me, because now you helped me create a body of work. And I know you stream Lit Life too. So I hope you see this video, and I hope, you know, I hope life has really humbled you, because you're not gonna talk about me and think I'm not gonna do anything about it. So keep on running this, because you're not gonna do this, because if you did wanna fight me, why didn't you fight me at the hockey game? Why didn't you fight me when I was by myself at the grocery store? Better yet, why didn't you check me like a G you swear you are? Because as Rick Ross says, if we're keeping it gangster, when you see me, you check me. Why did you have to talk about me to my friends? Because you knew they was gonna tell me. And I thank my friends again, because they didn't have to tell me, but they did. But that's one of the drama that went through on Lit Life, y'all. Unfortunately, there is a little more drama, but I'm about to take a little break from you, because unfortunately, just give me time to talk about it. All right, y'all, I'm back again. Unfortunately, there is a little drama for, you know, there's one last segment of drama that occurred for the release of this album. So let me just get into it. Well, first of all, let me just ask y'all, are you guys familiar with what a swap is when, you know, you're working with somebody? Well, if you don't, I'm gonna let you guys in on what that means. Pretty much a swap means like a return favor. Like if I be on your album, that means when you drop yours, I'm gonna be on there, you know, and it's a swap. So jumping back into the producers I worked on this project with, one of them had reached out to me and basically they wanted to work with me again. And I told them, like, you know, I have this beat on Lit Life that I feel is unfinished that I think, you know, you could do something with. You know, can you possibly remake that, and, you know, we can go from there. So they took the beat and they remade it, but here's where the funny business started to come in. So if, in case you guys don't know, whenever you do a collaboration with somebody, you know, you have to have their contact information as well as their, you know, basically you need their contact information so that when the song does pop up, you're able to go on that person's profile. So originally, the project was supposed to be released the first week of August, and it got pushed back, I guess, because something was wrong with the streaming platforms. But when you push a release back, I mean, it's almost like, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you can't go in and change the date to anything sooner. Like, you have to pick a later date. So originally we were going to release it later on that week in August, and we did. But here's the problem. So dude did use the beat that he took from me, but he didn't publicly credit it for me. He gave me my email address, but then he misspelled Young Bart on purpose. Because let me just ask y'all something. Y'all are fans of me, right? When have I ever spelled Young Bart spaced out with a capital G? So what he did was he tried to be slick. He went on ahead and posted the beat, and he gave me like credit for it to my email address, but not publicly. So it made it seem like he made the beat and not me. But I'ma just let y'all in on something. If you listen to that beat, it sounds just like my beat. And I know y'all probably wondering what beat I'm talking about, but if you listen to my Atlanta beat, there's another version of Atlanta out there too, but unfortunately I'm not publicly credited for it. And I confronted him about it, and of course he tried to act like he didn't know what I was talking about, but like, I felt like that was bad business because, one, I put you on my beat tape and we agreed to do a swap, and you didn't even go about the good business. But a good friend of mine told me two things. They were like, you know, you have to watch out for producers like that because they're known to beat jack. And two, you know, maybe he felt, you know, he needed that for his album because maybe his own sounds weren't good enough. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's the case. And he was like, well, why would he take your beat and not credit you for it to make it seem like he made it? And I was like, that's a good point too. So, you know, that's another bit of drama that came with releasing Lit Life, unfortunately, but this was after the album was dropped. All right, y'all, so I think I'm about ready to wrap up this video. First things first, I just want to tell everybody, thank you so much for supporting me and Lit Life. I mean, even if you never listened to the project or you have, thank you for giving me a stream. You know what I mean? Not only did you help me pay my bills and whatnot, but you helped me move into my new place. And most of all, you supported me on a beat tape. And I will say, my next beat tape, which will be my third one, I'm not gonna give you guys the release date because I'm very, you know, I'm very particular about not, you know, telling my every move, but definitely expect it very soon. You know, I'm not saying it's coming out in 2 weeks. I'm not saying it's coming out in a month, but just know that beat tape number 3 is on the way. And this one, you know, it's gonna be all trap beats. And that's what I touched on in my Hibernation interview with my bro, JC King. Shouts out to him, bro. Can't wait to link up with you one day. But definitely my next beat tape is gonna be my best body of work. And I don't know if I can say that confidently because I feel like Lit Life is gonna be my best body of work and it's the most classic, but definitely my third beat tape, it's gonna be out of this world, and I hope you guys are around to experience it. But as far as Lit Life, I don't know, I'm definitely gonna be streaming it all week. You know, I can't believe it's been a year since I posted it and DistroKid accepted it and it's been registered, but you know, check me out. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal. I mean, whatever streaming platform you prefer, just search Young Bart and Lit Life will pop up. Or also stream Hibernation. Also, I have a Hibernation EP out, Hibernation Extras, which comes expired by my acting career. And then there's the Lit Life Originals, which is pretty much the beats that didn't go on the first project. So just support my discography, y'all. I mean, support me before I get too famous because I believe things are happening for a reason. I believe 2024 going to 2025 will definitely be the year of Young Bart. So thank y'all so much for supporting me. I know this is a very long video, but I had to, you know, acknowledge the 1 year anniversary of my first beat tape. And I hope when Lit Life 2 comes out, it's just as good. But I don't know when I'll release Lit Life 2, but just know it is gonna come. And once again, thank you to all the producers that helped me, all the fans that supported, all my friends, my family, and most of all, anybody that believed in me when I was hard on myself. Thank you for all the advice you've given me. But that is all for today's video. Stream Lit Life on all platforms, and remember, like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with all your peers. This has been another episode of YungBartTV.
What, beat?